If you've ever asked yourself the question, what would I do if someone offered me 6 pallets of moldy bread? This video is going to be for you. Check out what we got going on. There's no exaggeration here. I wish you guys could smell the smells that I'm smelling right now, but we got 6 pallets of very, very moldy baguettes, mostly baguettes, some hamburger buns and such, from the food bank. This stuff spoiled before it was able to be donated. It's a huge bummer, but this happens in the distribution system that our society has set up. It truly is a ridiculous amount of bread. There's always going to be situations where food gets wasted, where it spoils before it can be eaten. And so the question is, what do you do with this material? Our goal here is to prevent it from going to the landfill. We were not here if we didn't have this relationship that we have with the food bank. It would have gone to the landfill. There's only so many folks who might be willing to take something like this. This is not a food waste item that you could easily feed to animals. It's too far gone. It's too moldy. I wouldn't even feed it to pigs. I wouldn't feed it to our chickens. There's just too much risk of that mold making them sick. Let me show you what I mean. Situation like this, like I said, we want to avoid the landfill. Really, the only use for this material is compost. I don't really see anything else you could do with it. Let me know if you've got ideas in the comments below. But we are basically going to make a giant compost pile. When it comes to composting, there's a lot that I could say. There's a lot I want to say about composting. It's a very big topic. It's very diverse and nuanced, like most farming-related topics are. Really, most things in life can be very nuanced. But I'm going to kind of go forward with the assumption that you as the viewer understand some of the terms in composting, like, greens versus browns, high nitrogen, carbon materials. And in a future video, we can dive much deeper into some of these basics of composting, some of the terminology, some of the processes, right, that we get into with composting. But for now, we've got a lot of work to do with this pile, and there's other nursery tasks going on. So I don't have time to dive into it today. But let me know what questions you have and what you'd like to see in that composting video, and we can go into more depth at a later time. But the workflow for this process, for this project today, it goes something like this. James, who originally is the one who put the effort in at the beginning to really establish our relationship as a group of people with the food bank, James found out from them that they had 6 pallets roughly of moldy bread, and they wanted to know if we could do something with it. Typically, with most of the food waste we get from them, it goes directly to the chickens. If there's too much or stuff that we don't want the chickens to get, we will sometimes build small compost piles with some of the stuff that we get from them. But mostly it goes to the chickens. Since this bread is moldy, like we talked about, it can't go to the chickens, and so we're going to compost it. First, we had to get it here. And so James and Pat helped. We got the trailer and the truck fully loaded. It was a huge effort. I would not have been able to do that alone. So guys, if you're watching, I really appreciate you for setting this whole, organizing this whole thing and helping out with the labor, because it's fun. I really do enjoy making compost and keeping stuff out of the waste stream. It is also a lot of work. And like I said, I could not have done it myself. But so we had to get the truck loaded up. We had to get the pallets over to the loading dock, load everything up. We had, in order to not be making a million trips, we had to stack things pretty neat, get it all strapped down nice and safe so we could get on the road without any big issues. Get it here, dump all the boxes out in a pile, like what you see behind me. And now we have to go through and start sorting and tearing down the boxes. So it's open the box, open the bag, dump it. We make a pile over here with the cardboard, the plastic bags go in the trash bag. One of the reasons we were able to say yes to accepting this load is that each box only has one bag. The bag is not tied, and so it's very efficient to get the bread out of the bag and out of the box. If this was individually wrapped loaves, there's no way we would have the time that it would take to actually go through all these boxes and get the food out. That can be a big problem in food waste, is that there's a lot of labor involved in taking the food from the packaging to its raw state so that you can work with it. The bread is out. We have a massive pile like this behind us, and I'm filming this video while we're in the process of getting the bread out of the boxes and bags still. So I have an idea of how we're going to build this compost pile. Ideas tend to change when you actually get into doing the work. So for now, we're building a bread pile. The idea at the moment, and I'll let you know if it changes as we do it, we're going to make a footprint, a little pad out of wood chips. We just got a fresh few loads of wood chips dumped, and we're going to then make a mountain of bread on top of the wood chip pad. We'll probably spray water into this bread. It's pretty dry, so we'll probably hydrate it as we stack things up. And for the most part, we're just gonna cap the pile with wood chips and not do a whole lot of mixing. In an ideal world, if we had a lot of time and if we had more wood chips, we'd probably mix the wood chips in with the bread. But I think for this, with how moldy it is, with how much decomposition is going on, we're just gonna cap it with wood chips, let it start breaking down, and then we'll continue to mix it with the tractor and incorporate the wood chips in as we go throughout the composting process. We'll see. Before I get back to work, a few other brief things that I wanna say. I just wanna talk about, again, what is going to happen to this material if we don't do this work, right? So if the food bank did not have us, did not have this relationship, or if we weren't aware of the food bank, right? If we were unable to take this load, it's going to go to the dump. It's going to go to the landfill. And it's either going to get incinerated to be used as an energy source to generate energy, right, at a power plant, or it's going to go into the landfill and get compacted, right? When things go into the landfill, food waste specifically, anything organic that can break down, when it goes into the landfill, it breaks down anaerobically. There's not enough oxygen getting into the pile. The anaerobic microbes that break down that food waste, and some of you know where I'm going with this, they produce methane. Methane is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. Generally, it's just not a good thing to be producing methane that we're not going to use in some way. Yes, some landfills can collect the methane and use it, burn it as natural gas. But most landfills don't have that infrastructure set up. To be honest, at this point, I am a little bit rusty on compost facts. I don't know what percentage of landfills have that methane capturing equipment. I know it's not all of them. A lot of them are just burning it off at the source because they might have a way to capture it, but they don't have a way to transport it, right? So they're just burning it off there, not really generating much energy at all. Even if we are generating energy via methane, in my opinion, that's not the best thing we could be doing with this material. We could not be generating methane. We could instead be generating compost that's going to grow food instead of requiring fertilizers and pesticides to grow our food. We can just make compost locally. It's also a lot less trucking involved. We don't have to truck this stuff from the landfill. The food bank is 5 minutes away. You know, the landfill, I don't even know where the closest landfill is where this stuff would go. It'd probably go to a transfer station and then to a landfill. So there's a lot more hauling involved when this stuff can be dealt with locally if we develop more regional capacity, right? Find more folks like us who are willing and able to do this work. This is quickly breaking into a wider discussion. I'm gonna kind of try to cap it off here, but really, I think if we want to see this take off, this movement, if we want to see composting expanded, we're going to need legislation involved to kind of help facilitate that. We're also going to need folks doing the composting work to be getting paid for what they're doing. We're doing it out of enjoyment and out of the fact that we need compost, and so this is a good input for us. It's a free, you know, basically a nitrogen source and a carbon source. Depending on what it's made of, can be a little bit of an in-between material between carbon and nitrogen. It can behave in different ways depending on circumstances. The main reasons I wanted to talk about this in the video is just to hopefully inspire folks and move people. If you have interest, if you have any level of interest and any level of capacity to be doing composting work, to be feeding food scraps to your animals, start reaching out, trying to make those relationships locally. Even if you couldn't handle a load as big as this, maybe you can just handle a few buckets a week. Reach out to your local food bank and don't stop there. You know, reach out to local restaurants, coffee shops. There's all sorts of places where food waste is being generated. If you have the interest and any level of ability to handle it, I highly encourage you to go and do it. It's a really rewarding thing. It's something that we need as a culture. And so I just want to, like I said, hopefully inspire you all to go out and do it. Windy today. I'm actually having to watch my back. Some of these pine trees behind me are at the end of their life and they're making some ominous noises. So we gotta be ready to jump at any minute here. But combination of sweet and moldy smells that I'm getting right now is just absolutely it's something else. Also up next to, we mixed up a pile here of chicken manure and hay and wood chips, so it's also some smells of decomposition coming from, good smells coming from that pile, nothing bad. As a general thing, when you're composting, when you're mixing up the materials, there might be some smells, but once the pile is done and it's capped with carbon, you don't want any smells coming out of it. If there's smells coming out of the pile when it's just sitting there, something is going wrong. I'm gonna get back to the work. We'll show you what that looks like with the tractor. We'll talk more about our methods in building the pile and how this process goes. But if you are interested in getting into this sort of work, other than just trying to be inspiring, I wanna let you know, don't be discouraged if your first couple of attempts to build a relationship where you're gonna get food waste, don't be discouraged if it fails. I have found with as much food waste as we have in our society, it's harder than you would think to get a hold of it, especially if you need consistent supply for composting or for animals. You just have to try a lot of things and see what works, see who in your community is willing to work with you. So don't be discouraged if you have a hard time at first. Just keep trying. Eventually you'll find your people. It's what I've experienced anyway. All right, I might change the play around with the zoom here a little bit, but I did manage to get some wood chips onto the bread mountain with the tractor. I think about 20 or so loads. Now, it was capped relatively decently. I probably, if I was going to do this right, we would have mixed more wood chips in, and we're going to continue to mix this periodically and add in more wood chips. The other thing we could have done differently that we didn't do is, it's been somewhat dry, and I didn't turn the hose onto this thing at all. At the beginning, we had the hose on it a little bit, but definitely, like, you can hear how crunchy some of this bread is under my feet. Now, this is stuff that hasn't been capped. It's been out baking in the sun. But still, the dryness is going to slow down decomposition. So if we really want to get this stuff composting, we've got to get water back into it. Rain will do it over time, but if we can artificially set a sprinkler on here at some point, I think we will. And we got all of the plastic trash cleaned up. Crunch, crunch, more bread. And we're still working on getting all this cardboard cleaned up. I don't know if we're going to use it for gardening here, or burn it, or compost it, or try to send it to someone else. I don't know. Send it, give it, see if there's anyone else that wants to use it for, sheet mulching, composting, pathways, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'll try to get some action shots of the tractor as we continue to turn it and see how it breaks down. I totally forgot to mention the top of that pile. I know it looks not fully capped. Let's see. Whoa. Let's see if we can zoom in here. Maybe let's just walk back up there. Do you guys enjoy when I put those little clips in where I'm figuring stuff out with the camera, or does that take away from the thing? I feel like it's kind of cool. It's the whole process. Let me know what you think. Anyway, yeah, so see how there's exposed bread. I don't know if that is a critter doing it, or if James may be in the pile of actually mixing and adding some chips right now. He's on the tractor. I just got in from being out of town, and I have not touched base with James to see, like I said, if he's putting in any work on this right now. Could be that, but if not, definitely we got some critters coming in here to take some treats. We've been watching the crows. I've seen crows make regular trips. They fly. Let's see if I can show you guys. Here's me. There's the pile. They've been flying across way, 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 way over into the horizon over there somewhere with, you can see a big chunk of white bread hanging out of their beak. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, there might be some four-legged friend getting in there, and I mean, it's not bothering us where the pile is. If you were in a more urban setting, you might want to try to control or prevent things like that. For us, not really a problem that I can see anyway, whether it's bears or raccoons or possums or mice or rats or whatever. They're all out here anyway. I don't want to attract them up close to the house or the chickens, but this pile is kind of down in the field, so I don't see a problem with critters. We do want to keep it capped. If they are removing some of the wood chips on top, we definitely want to keep it capped. So we'll see how that goes. Well, it's been an amount of time since we last recorded a clip here at the Bread Mountain compost pile. It's been over a month. I'll put somewhere here in text in the video how long it's been since we originally mixed up the pile, the day that we brought the bread until right now where we're at. The compost is certainly not finished. It's not a fully broken down, completed pile, but I think for the purposes of this video, we've gotten far enough along. I might make this the last clip we record for this video. We'll definitely keep coming back and visiting this pile, this site, as it continues to break down over the summer. But here is the pile, and you can see there is still some bread. Let's see if we can find. So down here, this is bread kind of in the process of breaking down. You can see that's a little piece there. As I've been digging through, there are pieces of bread here and there. On this side, you can see a few pieces have gotten tossed out, and the pieces on the outside, they're nice and crispy. We talked earlier in the video about hydration, how this bread was kind of dry. The wood chips were kind of dry. We watered them a little bit, but ultimately that slowed us down at the beginning. We then got several weeks of just an abundant amount of rain. I mean, inches and inches and inches of rain. I don't know exactly how much we got, but I want to say that in May we got upwards of 6 inches, maybe upwards of 10. And so that rain has really helped us out. It did a really good job of hydrating the pile. Additionally, just for funsies, you may have noticed there's a bone sticking out there. James and Leanna have been turning this pile a lot with the tractor. They also recently found a deer deceased down by the creek, and so we buried it in this pile only a few weeks ago, and it's now all that remains is bones, a little bit of fur. I won't show you guys that, the details, the gruesome details there, but I don't really think it's that grotesque at this point. It's just bones. We've all seen bones before, but we'll just leave that out for now. Let me know your thoughts. If you want to see more of that stuff, let me know in the comments. Or if you don't want to see it, let me know in the comments so I can kind of gauge how much of this you guys want to be seeing. Anyway, I've been monitoring temps on a very not regular basis, and we have never gotten above 131. Right now the pile is sitting just below 100 degrees. I just put the thermometer in there now. And that means below 131 means that we're not hot enough to be killing pathogens. There were certainly pathogens in this bread and certainly pathogens in that decomposing deer. So this compost is absolutely not safe to use on plants right now. Plants are going to eat from anyway. Additionally, it's still hot. It's still actively breaking down. So we would not want to use this on any plants yet. I would say, I don't know, within the next few weeks, next month or so, as the pile begins to cool off and kind of run out of nutrients, which is what I'm expecting it to start doing here soon, is not being as hot. Once we get to that point, I would certainly feel comfortable using the wood chip compost mix. Some of that material will look more like humusy compost stuff, soil-like. Some of it will look more like still whole pieces of wood chips and such. All of the bread will be completely gone very soon. I would feel very comfortable top dressing perennials and woody plants with that material soon. But because of the pathogen load and the fact that we didn't get to those heat numbers that we need to get to, I would not feel comfortable putting that on garden plants or any veggies I'm going to harvest anytime soon. Really, and like I said, we haven't talked a lot about composting methods and terminology in this one, but I'm treating this more as a static pile. We have been turning it, which helps speed up the decomposition and cycle all the material through all parts of the pile. But because I don't think we've really gotten above 131, even though we turned it, we haven't killed pathogens. And so I'm treating it more as a static pile that has been turned slightly just to speed the process up. But static composting, you want to mix a pile, not add any fresh material for at least a year, roughly a year. And after about a year, at that point, it's generally safe to use that stuff as long as you didn't have any super egregious inputs. That's the really short and skinny on static composting. You're basically allowing worms and fungi and thyme and all these other organisms to kind of process and outcompete all of the bad guys, quote unquote, the bad actors, the pathogens in there. As opposed to hot compost, thermophilic compost, which is where you're relying on heat to mostly be the vector that's killing the organisms that we do not want. And so again, we can go into detail on all those terms, terminology, different methods, vocabulary, whatever, on compost in an upcoming video. I'm definitely making that a priority. It's a video we're going to make this summer. Let me know what you want to see in there, and I'd be happy to include it. I'm still the gears are still spinning and determining what exactly that video might look like. So I would invite you all to be part of the creative process with me. That's the whole point of why we're doing what we're doing here. But yeah, that's what we did with 6 pallets of moldy baguettes. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out, we had another video recently about, we got 4 pallets of spoiled kale from the food bank. It was a very similar type of situation. They got too much of it. It was going bad faster than they could give it away. They had no place to store it. And so with that, we wound up doing a lot of the composting in place in the chicken run. Check out that video if you're interested. Like I said, it's already out. I'm sure we'll be doing more videos about food bank, food waste stuff like this in the future. I'm really excited. The worm composting bins that I've got, they're getting going. I need to get my black soldier fly bins set up. A lot of fun composting stuff planned this season. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in.